George Bailey is joining us. He's the president of Sleep Talker. They make Zpods. They're a St. Louis startup. They recently were a recipient of an Arch grant, which I want to know all about that and what that is. And what these Zpods are sensory-friendly beds for high-energy children, including those with autism. And George sits on the board of directors of Autism Speaks St. Louis and on the On the Spectrum Foundation. And he is involved in the St. Louis community through other organizations and through church service. He has many degrees here that I'm seeing, and that he has a BA in Chinese from Brigham Young University. He is fluent in Mandarin Chinese, German, and Danish. And George and his wife have 5 children, and he says 2 of them which are blessed with autism. So we welcome George Bailey to the show. George, hello.
Shannon, hello. Can you hear me? Am I coming in through
I
clearly?
absolutely can
Excellent.
hear you. Pleased to have you here. I was saying we probably know some people in common because I used to teach at BYU. I don't know if
What?
you know that. I know.
I did not know that. I looked over your background, but I didn't catch that. That is
Well,
outstanding. That is really wonderful.
it's not necessarily one of the things that I put in my because I taught theater at BYU.
Oh,
And
so
so,
crazy.
this is not useful in this format for anybody to know, but yes, and I have many, many friends at BYU still, and loved living in Provo, Utah. Had
Miss the mountains, right? Oh my
oh,
gosh,
and I have so
gorgeous.
many friends who teach at UVU, and my son was
Yep.
accepted to UVU, and we desperately tried to coerce him into going to Utah because the whole family would move to Utah, and instead I'm living in Los Angeles. So, what can you do? You talk to your children, you try
Yep.
to get them to do what you want them to do, and then you release and say, "We will go with whatever you want."
Amen to that. I really
Right.
agree. Yeah.
Right. So, George, I don't even know where to start, but let's talk about what a pod bed is. Should
Yes,
we talk
yes.
about first about you and what your circumstances are? Or what would you
Oh,
like?
I just enjoy the art of conversation, and wherever it takes us, it's
Me
like if
too.
we never touch on okay, it might, friends wouldn't be too, happy if we didn't touch on
No.
Zpods at all. But I'm just happy to talk, and I guess I'll give you a little bit of background about kind of how we started, and we'll
Okay.
take it from there. You,
Let's do
you
that.
cut in with any questions you have
Oh,
because
have you
I'm
met
thrilled
me?
to
I
be here.
will.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just like, doesn't seem too afraid,
No.
on that front. So I was working here in St. Louis. I'm actually from California myself. I was born and raised in the Bay Area. My wife and I met on a blind date at BYU,
Wow.
but she's also
Wow.
from the Bay Area, and so we had all the same connections. We knew a lot of the same people, and then all of a sudden, we end up on a blind date. And we got married after 3 months, and people thought, "Oh, you're crazy." Like, I felt shy about telling people that initially. Within the first 3 years of marriage, when you tell someone that, you're always kind of like, yeah, yeah, we got, married after 3 months. After 15 years, going on 16 soon, and with 5 kids, you're like, I got nothing to prove. I got a crazy
That's
story,
right.
you
That's right.
know. And now it's like it's a part of our heritage, that we did that crazy thing, and we love each other, and she's just amazing. So we moved to St. Louis about 12 years ago so that I could attend law school, and I ended up working in the financial services sector. And a friend of mine, 2 friends of mine, with whom I served together on the board of directors for the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. They were working on a series of startups, and I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I was always just very conservative in my work decisions that I made. But they said, George, we really want someone like you with your skill set to come on board with us and help us launch a couple of small businesses. And so this is the one, Zpods, that I actually took to. And the reason why was because although I had no passion for it when we started out, because we were looking at these sleep capsules or sleep pods, as you might call them. We're looking at them. We're like, what do we use these for? We were getting them out of China. We were looking at maybe like corporate office spaces, nap pods, truck stops. We had all sorts of, truly romantic ideas about like, wow, airports, could you, I didn't really care about any of that stuff. But one of Gary's friends started poking him with autism. And now I have to say that I met it initially. I actually brushed it off the first few times that I heard it because I am, a father of five, and two of my kids are autistic. And so I know plenty about autism, or so I thought. And I was thinking, like, what do they need these for? Like, who cares? And not just that, but it was like, dude, we get sold all sorts of stuff. So I was very hesitant. But then what happened was, Gary mentioned it one more time, and the image flashed before me of Temple Grandin
Mhm.
inside her squeeze machine, which if you've
Yep.
ever seen the movie, and I'm sure you have, and I know you've had her on the show,
Yep.
that she has this squeeze machine that she used to decompress. And then I started thinking, like, okay, maybe there's something about this aspect of enclosure and bringing comfort to kids and stuff like that. So at that point, I decided that if we're going to go in this direction, we're going to do it right. And doing it right means a couple of things. Well, number one is never making medical claims, which we do not, and also talking with a lot of professionals, and autistics, in the space to really assess, like, what is the actual need. So it took us a good year from the time that we actually started thinking about autism to the point where we really embraced it, because we wanted to make sure that it was right. And for me, for a lot of ethical reasons, I felt like, this needs to be done the right way. We found our first case study in a young woman named Natalie, 13 years old, with autism and schizophrenia, and
Mhm.
she was sleeping 4 hours a night in her
Mm,
closet.
mm.
And her mom was desperate. But again, it was precisely the desperation that made me hesitate, because I don't like to prey on the
Yeah.
desperation of other people.
Yeah.
And we said, no promises. We actually helped her get a grant to cover the costs. We covered some of the costs because we were so anxious to see, like, what was going to happen. And we were kind of saying to each other, like, hey, dude, can you imagine what it would be like if Natalie jumped from 4 hours to 6 hours? Literally overnight. I mean, from the night that she got her bed, that was November 2019, she jumped from 4 hours a night to over 10 hours a night.
Wow.
And that is an average that she has held since then.
Wow.
And so, we're going to release a pretty cool little short documentary about that experience very soon. So be on the lookout for that, where we highlight her story. And we've worked now with between 60 and 70 children. And we've had numerous degrees of success, and we've been very proud of what we've done. And it's very hard, to do this for many reasons I could tell you about. You've done a startup, at
Yeah.
some point, autism-live was a startup.
Yeah.
Anytime you start your own business, there are exceptional risks that you take. And this isn't about garnering sympathy for ourselves, but rather to point to the parents that came on as early adopters to take a chance on us.
Yeah.
And I think that by and large we've been, very good. And sometimes I think there are ways that we can improve, but I'm really grateful to work with these families. It's been a true adventure, and we're just at the start of it.
So let's back up a little bit and
Yeah.
break this down. And I know Traven's got an image that he can show us at some point too. So capsule beds in different parts of the world are already a thing and
Yes.
around. I mean, I became aware, I don't know what documentary that I was watching or what movie that I was watching and saw the sort of capsule beds. I don't know where in Asia it was, but that you could like rent one for a couple of hours to sleep in
Yeah.
way before the pandemic, obviously. And can I tell you, George, what I said? I was like, why don't they have these at Disneyland? Because at Disneyland, like it always gets to that point in the afternoon where it doesn't matter if your kids are completely neurotypical or
Yes.
whatever. There's a point in the afternoon when everyone is tired and a nap would be brilliant, and you're not going to pay for a hotel, right? And
Yeah.
I've always said, why is there not like these capsule things? But tell for people who've never seen anything like this before, talk about just in general these pods and these capsule beds and what because you said you guys wanted to bring them to the United States and so there's the picture. This is of an
Yeah.
actual Z pod,
So
correct?
actually, and even more exciting than that, that is the new one that we're putting out in June. So the
Okay.
old one was, probably what you saw was a made in China product that,
Yeah.
again, very cool. You get inside, you get fan control, you get to control the lights, the mirror lights, you get to, control, close out all the lights so you get this dark space, and that's great. But what we did was from the start, we started asking questions of our constituents. Hey, what is, like, what do you want to see different? And what can we improve upon? What are your thoughts about this? And we got a lot of feedback. And the great thing about working with, autistic children and their parents is that you get feedback all over the place.
Yeah.
And so we decided that, okay, as we make this, we want to continually like push the limits of what this thing can do. In other words, we want it to be able to adapt to any specific individual and any specific taste. Everybody has what I call a sleep profile.
Yeah.
Okay, the way they like the covers to be, the way they like the light to be, whatever it is that helps them to be able to initiate sleep, which is the the end goal. That's what we're shooting for, to be able to do that. So we added a number of things that we're launching in June. Again, we've sold out the last of our made in China inventory. We brought all manufacturing back to the United States, and we
Nice.
redesigned the bed. So, for example, I'll start with the fans. The original bed, you had two fans in the corners, one in each corner. And now, if you look behind me, let's see, you can see two fans on one side. And if you were to look on the other side there would be two more.
So this
And
background that we're seeing is if as if you were
this is the
inside the pod.
interior. Yeah, this is the interior. And sorry, it's a little bit sketchy. I wish my background were a little bit better.
No.
But if I turn this off,
It's fine, it's fine.
you're in my office space, and it's not an
I
office
hear
space
you.
to be proud of. Whatever. So but we wanted two fans that go in and two fans that go out, which is new. To have extra circulation. We thought that that was really essential.
Yeah.
And then the mirror lights, instead of being, before it's like you click different colors, and that's great. We wanted a full spectrum that could actually kind of, more smoothly move towards one color from the next. And of course, we also wanted to be able to make it so that you can have effectively a light show that goes on in your bed. We have
Wow.
speakers in the new one, which was high demand. Everybody wanted speakers, and we thought, oh, we could totally do that. So now we have speakers in all the beds. And then the doors, the current bed, you cannot take the door out. So it
Okay.
slides, it's embedded in the front panel. But those that you see right there, you can grab them by the sides, lift, tilt, remove. And
Okay.
so that makes it so that kids can, in the future, as we start creating more door designs, it's like, okay, you like this brand, then we can brand it that way. You like this shape or this pattern of stars or forests, we want to be able to individualize the bed entirely.
Yeah.
Like that is the end goal. And then we also created an app that will be able to control the bed remotely so that parents can unlock and lock certain features as children display varying levels of maturity,
Okay.
so you could lock it so that lights go off at 8:15 no matter what, or they start to fade. The current lights cannot fade on the same scale that what we're creating will do. So they start to fade over the series of 30 minutes to gradually kind of dim and then, soothe the child. And a lot of this is very psychological, So that's what you're looking at, is an enclosed bed, a capsule bed, or a pod bed.
Okay. And now, before everybody loses their mind, we want to say that this is very specific for people that want that sensory experience,
Yes.
because I don't want anybody tuning in and going, "Oh, this is a punishment thing," or
No,
this
no.
is
And
not.
that really
Yeah,
good point, because in our user manual, for example, one of our head tips is never, ever, ever, ever send your child to this bed as a form of punishment. The
that's right.
whole point is that bedtime has become perceived as a punishment for so many kids,
Yeah.
and it has to be something that they just look forward to. And that's the way it is for my kids now. We have two of these beds in my home. And, my son Joseph, he's 14 years old now. He's autistic. He would hate going to bed, and we'd send him to bed, and then he'd just bounce around his room from,
Yeah.
he would send him to bed at 8, and it would be 8 until 10, 11, 12, and now he's just like,
Yeah.
okay, go to my bed, hang out in my pod. It is his hangout space. When I give
Yeah.
him our computer that has all of our music on it, because that's his favorite reward for doing anything is being able to listen to dad's, 70s jam and 80s
Love it.
jam. Yep. That he'll just go to his bed and chill out. So
Yeah.
it's become there's a positive association there, and where you have a negative association, you're not going to get as effective of sleep.
The whole entire point is that this becomes the safe space. It becomes womb-like.
Exactly.
And that
Yes.
they have control over the environment within that womb. And if anybody uses it for anything else, that's completely the opposite of what's trying to be created here.
Yeah.
So there's that. Now I want to ask some practical questions as a
Please.
parent. That so on the new one, the gray door that has the sort of swish on it, that's the door that slides over so that they can get in.
Correct. So there are actually 2 sliding doors that you can see there. Both of the ones that are that dark charcoal gray, those are both doors.
Okay. And then where the blue panel is that a window that's there that they can open up the window?
No, that's a mirror.
That's a
And
mirror.
the
Okay.
mirror actually, one of the fascinating things, I was actually just telling my sister about this morning, is that something that was very profound to me. I didn't think that the mirror was that big of a deal, and we thought, oh, maybe we can, save some costs by not having a mirror in every bed. But we were told adamantly, like, no, please keep the mirror by several people, and I still couldn't figure out, like, well, but why? Tell me. I want to understand why. And there were 2 big reasons that jumped out. One more practical, and that was that, when you come in, there is a greater sense of kind of spaciness in there. If you go in and you never want your child to feel cramped. I mean, it's not necessarily a cramping space. If it's a twin size mattress, it's 6 feet 5 inches from end to end, and I can lie down in it very comfortably.
Okay.
But it does give it that feeling of like, oh wow, it's like almost like doubling your real estate psychologically, even though you only have, whatever, 1,500 square feet, whatever it is. Yeah. And so the other reason was more on the autism level. And I was talking with an adult who's autistic and very, and I love having that experience because they're in a better position to be able to articulate their needs.
Yes.
And this person was saying, well, when I have a sensory processing disorder, and when I feel out of sorts, all of my environment is out to get me, and I feel like I'm having almost a constant out of body experience. The mirror, when I look in there, it's almost like a reorienting experience. It's a reminder
Okay.
I am here. And so you'll notice, if you've ever seen kids with autism who love mirrors.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's true across the board, if that's why they all love mirrors, but it certainly seemed to make a lot of sense to me,
Yeah.
and so the mirror's there as a way of it's a soothing agent, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay, great. So, and that was going to be my next question was about like how, so how big is the mattress? Is it a
Twin.
typical
Yeah.
mattress? So, and then does the top come off? How do you change the sheets?
Ah,
Mom wants
that's
to know. Yeah.
good question, Mom. And I love these questions because they are the practical questions that we get very
Right.
often. Whereas with the original, you have one door that occupies one side of that front that you see. This was one of the reasons why we wanted to have 2, and why we wanted to make them easily removable.
Okay.
Because you take those out, and then you have a bed that's a lot easier to clean, and you have a bed that's a lot easier to change. That was a
Okay.
big demand, and I feel like that's one of the things I'm most excited about as well.
So you're not taking the mattress out every time you're changing the sheets. You've got a big enough opening to get in and
Yeah,
do
and
that.
you can take the mattress out too if you want. It's easy to do that on the new generation.
Okay. Amanda says, my question is what happens when they get older and they are so used to sleeping in the bed and something changes, something happens where they can't have the bed any longer. My son just started trying to sleep in his closet. I think it's very timely, Amanda, that George is here today. And
Yeah.
she says, I had to add a lock to his door.
Mm,
So, and we do see a lot of even younger kids, but especially teenagers, start to go sleep in their closet. And parents are always mystified by why that is. But this is exactly, why you guys have created this because they're looking for that enclosed experience. They
yeah.
feel safer there. But but in terms of, you're saying you're a, a full grown adult, you're saying you can still sleep in there
Yeah.
comfortably.
So Amanda's question is really good, and we get that one as well occasionally. We've worked with young adults. We even have a client who's a dentist, not autistic, and uses it in his office 15 minutes a day during lunchtime just to chill
Yeah.
out it, and he loves it, you know. So we have started with kids in the sense that we feel like that's where we can grow organically from there until adulthood. But this does raise two really important questions. You know, is it desirable, you know, for an adult to be sleeping in this kind of a space? And I'm going to be honest, you know, Amanda, I don't know. We're so new at this in some ways that we're really kind of figuring it out. I don't see anything, there's no reason that I can see that there's anything wrong with it per se. And we do want to be able to make sure that this is welcoming for adults as well as children. We have been approached about the possibility of helping out with PTSD and other conditions where enclosure, not all PTSD, but some types of PTSD, where enclosure becomes desirable and helpful and soothing. But so that's that. I hope that answers part of your question, Amanda. I wish that I could satisfy you that with greater knowledge on that one. But I will say that those adults, young adults that we've worked with, we have a wonderful young woman who's about 21, 22 now, who sleeps in there with her dog, and her therapy dog, and she loves it. And the pictures that we've got are incredible, you know.
Yeah.
But I tend to think that the core goal is good sleep. And so if you're not getting good sleep, then no matter what, you know, we need to look for a solution
Yeah.
because sleep, it has so many benefits. I mean, it almost sounds melodramatic to talk about the benefits of sleep on your health, on your appearance, on your general mood and happiness. You know, there are a lot of really incredible benefits to it.
Absolutely. And I want to say, Amanda, that, back in the day when Temple Grandin went to college and she wanted to bring her squisher with her, and they really had a bit of a problem with it and eventually, tore it to pieces, which was
Yeah.
traumatic for her. We live in a different age now where
Yeah.
I would like to be a part of lobbying for one of those to be in a dorm room, just going to say.
Yeah.
And I would love to get involved with that. But I think, George, down the road, I think that for the kids who really respond to this and really like this, I think that the parents are going to ask you for a pop-up travel version that's like a tent that they can take for a hotel room, because, if you're
We
wanting
are
to go.
working on that, by
There
the
we
way.
go.
I mean, you know, and the great thing, I have to tell you that one of the joys of commencing this startup together with the people that I started to work with is that I know how to do very little. As a person, I am pretty useless. Okay, I'm a good communicator, and no, it's true. It's like I am a good communicator. Okay, I talk better than a lot of people talk. You know, but that's something I've developed over years because I enjoy it. And you know, but as far as making stuff or fixing the sink, that you know, so a couple days ago, literally just like a week ago, one of my sons decided to climb to the, you know, he's 12 years old, and he decided he was going to get Nutella out of the, you know, the top
The
cupboard
cabinet.
over the sink, and
Yeah.
he did it over the course of 3 days. And every single time he used the sink as a handhold for support. And it worked 2 times.
Yeah.
And the third time it didn't work so well. And he busted that faucet right off. And
Yeah.
then had to tell us in the middle of the night, Mom and Dad, I think I broke something, which he did.
Yeah.
Well, my wife is extremely useful in those things. I am not. Okay, she fixed it right up. I helped a little bit, you know, like somewhere it needed to really put in some strength, you know, into the, you know, getting it down and stuff like that. Well, the point is, I work with other people who make incredible stuff and they know how to do it. And so, you know, to your point about, you know, a travel version and stuff like that, like always tell us what you want, because at the end of the day, we're actually trying to make not what we want or what we think is the right thing. I mean, we have to use our own judgment. You know, I'm not going
Yeah.
to kid you, but we want to respond to the consumer. You know,
Yeah.
we want to solve a problem.
So And we're out of time,
Oh,
but
no, no, I'm sorry.
I know that you said that you'd sold out of your initial inventory. When are these going to be available?
Great. So this new one is going to be available the middle of June. We're
Okay,
selling the first 288 at a strong discount, including shipping. So $2,800 altogether for the first 288, and that will include shipping anywhere within the United States. And we're always looking for ways to help parents who feel like, what, that's too much of a sacrifice right now. I'm going to say we acknowledge fully that it can be expensive for a lot of parents. And so we've gotten these covered by disability waivers in California,
yeah.
Ohio, Missouri. We've gotten it covered by state programs in Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Kansas. And we're going to keep on working on that.
And so that's through your Medicaid
Yeah.
or Medi-Cal here in California. But I also want to say that we've had parents before lobby for this type of equipment from their insurance company and
Right.
been rather successful if it's something that shows a medical benefit to the child. And getting sleep, everybody understands that if you don't get sleep, there is a huge medical cost to that. So people want to know any possibility of this in Philadelphia. Did you mention Pennsylvania as one of the places that you had yet done a waiver?
No,
Um,
not yet. We are working on that one rather actively because of
okay,
demand there. And we are in the middle of raising the funds necessary for clinical trials because we believe that insurance coverage in the long run is going to be the best thing that we can do for our
absolutely.
community.
Absolutely. So, George, if they're interested in more information, where do they need to go?
Zpodsforsleep.com. And
Zpods for sleep, the word for
yeah,
sleep.
the word for it.
It's on the screen right now, but for those of you listening in podcast, Z pods with an S for sleep.com.
Correct.
And so you think in June is when the first ones. How much does it weigh? Is a hard thing to ship?
It is very expensive in shipping, but the old one weighed more because of it had a lot more steel components. This is like plastic all the way around, with a few exceptions. So I don't know what the weight is going to be. The old one's like it's about 500 pounds or something like that. It's
Okay.
crazy
And
heavy. Yeah.
are you gonna be at any trade shows or anything where somebody could go and get in one and try it? Is that I know with COVID, this has been hard probably to show people, but if somebody said, "I just don't know and I wanna have my child get in it and see," what is the possibility on that anytime soon?
For now, only in the St. Louis area would you conveniently be able to check us out because that's where we are geographically. But we are starting to market to Airbnbs so that you can have a chance to actually go stay, which I think is the best test for whether or not it will work.
That's
And we will
amazing.
be out at trade shows, but we do not have any specifically planned right now. We're actually in negotiations with a few trade shows. So
Would
we
you
want to make the rounds. Yeah,
Would you do me a favor as you're talking to Airbnbs? Like we would like to get a list of what Airbnbs
exactly.
offer them because our community would want that information so that when they travel,
Absolutely.
that they're knowing that they can go to one. Uh, Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.